the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He mentored CEOs, speakers, authors, consultants, and coaches with a purpose. No other than Mr. Mitch Carson. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Mitch. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
I can, Daniel. Thank you for having me as a guest. I have proudly been involved in the speaking industry, and if you are a professional in the speaking industry, you most likely have a book. And that was what I was urged to get under my wraps and part of my personal branding so I could peacock with that as a speaker, because the speakers that get booked have books. Oh, I said that again, did I? Speakers that
Yes.
get booked have books,
Yes.
and or at least one book, and have several books, maybe in a series, so they can showcase their talents and prove their credibility, because we live in the world of proof, irrefutable proof. So I had a background as a pitchman on Home Shopping Network years ago, in the 90s. So I learned the value of television, media, exposure, so incredibly important to continuously market. I remember asking Daniel, I mean, you are a prolific podcaster. You podcast, I notice, daily. I mean, you are at this, man. You're in it,
Thank you.
living it.
Thank
And
you.
well, but that's what it takes, because I asked a mentor of mine years ago, I said, Dan, when do we stop marketing? I mean, it seems like a lot of work to send out letters. These were the direct mail days. And he said, never. If you want to have skinny children, stop marketing. So I thought that was an interesting metaphor. Like, okay, no, I'd rather have chunky kids, because then I'm continually marketing. You've got to push your name out there. You're prolific in the podcast industry, and in that whole space, you're out there doing it on a daily basis. I know you just said you're backlogged and you're not free for even calendar bookings till August. And that
Yes.
comes from being you're never getting off the treadmill, if you even look at it that way, or you look at it that as the success path. And one thing I've learned in the years of business, if you don't look at the rear view mirror. Italian racing, they rip off the rear view mirror. They don't care who's behind them, because they're always racing forward. So you got to keep pushing, 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 because you don't have to worry about your competition if you're already ahead of him. And you just keep moving forward. And, we had a nice little chat beforehand. Thank you for sharing generously your insights on programs and how to be a better podcaster. And that's what it takes, networking with professionals in your space to become better in your space. And don't look at competition, look at collaboration. And those have been some of the keys I have found over my 4 decades as a professional speaker and as a media personality: is collaborate. Don't worry about competition, because you won't have competition if you continue to push, because everybody finds their own pond to be a specialist in. And, collaborate and grow together.
Yes, indeed. Collaboration and grow. Mr. Mitch, thank you so
Daniel
much.
Lucas.
Mr. Mitch Carson, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. You've seen authors succeed and fail. What is the most common visible consequence for an author who publish a great book but stop all marketing efforts?
Okay, I'll relate it this way. When I was in college, the last thing I wanted to do was proofread my final paper in a class, because it took a lot of work to go in and do the edits and go do the fine tuning. The difference between an A paper and an A plus paper is the perspiration you put into it. Thomas Edison said, success is the equivalent of 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. So it takes the work. The real work begins after you write your book. There are a lot of great books subject matter experts, captivating stories. But the ones that are successful in the author space are the ones that have mastered or are continually mastering and improving their marketing skills, albeit getting on blogs, getting on podcasts like yours and others who are successful in this space, you know, writing articles, getting on television shows, talking about, because what do TV producers look for? They look for a unique person who is interesting, so they are interested. Who is interesting, so they're interested. And that's what makes a story. That's what gets you covered in the press. And a marketer is much more successful than someone who just writes a book and says, you know what, I've scratched this itch, Daniel. I've ticked the box. I wrote this book and please sell it for me. No, what you're going to have is a garage full of books that are going to collect a lot of dust. You've got to put the elbow grease in and work. You've got to have a podcast, potentially. Do what you do. I mean, I'm sure you've heard the whiners. I started my podcast and I just, I wasn't getting any downloads. Well, how many podcast episodes did you do? I did like 10, man. And that's not even a week for you, somebody like you. I mean, you're at it. You're doing lives, all this. It's the same thing for the successful authors. How much outreach did you do? Tell me about your book funnel. Tell me about, did you use Amazon A+ content on your book page? Did you write a series? Do you have a lead magnet? I mean, there's so many elements. We could have a long conversation just about lead magnets that are effective to place inside your book. What have you done to market it and breathe life into it? Books need oxygen, and the marketing is the oxygen that gives them life. And without oxygen, you curl up in a ball and you die. I'm sorry. Fetal position, you never recover from.
For sure, very well said, Mr. Mitch. Very well said. Many authors focus intensely on the launch period. Why is it consistent marketing long after the launch absolutely crucial for an author's survival and impact?
A launch is important. I don't actually pay much attention to launches. I'm going to take the other path. Have a soft launch, then see what happens in the market. Focus on reviews. Focus on reviews, because if you put your time in and get reviews, get exposure in the beginning, and get all these reviews, it then creates inertia to get you more reviews. Focus on delivering a quality book. Make sure you have an audio book, paperback book, hardcover book, ebook, all strategically uploaded. Then you can worry about the ongoing marketing, because then when traffic comes to your book page, author page once, rarely do they return. Take advantage of that opportunity. Tick all the boxes. Look great, be great, have at least 10 reviews. And then you start marketing. You know, if you can get on a place like BookBub, which is the #1 marketing platform, they are incredibly selective. What do they look for? A bunch of reviews. What do they look for? A quality book. They review it intensely, because I've understood when clients have gotten on BookBub, they get a positive return on investment, meaning they sell more books and actually pocket more cash than it is the cost of advertising on BookBub. It's one of the few book sites that gives that kind of return. So it's a real honor if you get on there. Fantastic. And then there are other minor sites out there, and the list is long, where you can advertise your book continually. And mastering Amazon ads in itself is a whole discussion. I'm sure you've had experts in that category, and that is ever changing. But if you're in the book space and you're afraid of marketing, you're looking at a dismal return. It's the work. You know, think of the Hollywood actor. How many hours and years did they put in to perfect their craft until they became Brad Pitt? Hours in studying their lines and learning to finally, when the cameras are turned on, okay, it's showtime. It's showtime is your marketing efforts. And it's the same strategy I teach speakers when I run my speaking trainings for authors is once you get booked on these podcasts, once you get booked on live stages, in-person stages, are you prepared? Because if you are, and it's as simple as when you go on a book writing tour or you're sitting at a Barnes and Noble, or no, Borders, I think is the last freestanding bookstore in America. You're at a Borders. Is it Borders or Barnes and Noble? I don't remember. I'm out of the Midwest.
Noble. Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble, you're sitting there and people take pictures and then they end up buying it on Amazon anyway. But if you're doing a book signing inside one of these places, how do you communicate? Are you well prepared to communicate during your presentation? Are you captivating so you get people to want to buy from you? All of these elements, because as an author, you could be an introvert and be successful. But the extroverted authors, the ones that master how to speak in a public arena and how to be a good expert guest on Daniel Lucas's podcast and others like you who are in the book writing space or publicity space or on their own podcast, optimally creating a cult following of their own podcast, they're the ones that are more likely to become more successful. It's a statistical fact that the people who communicate and speak better than those that are introverted and shy and tell themselves, oh, I'm shy, I'm a writer, I'm introverted, they make 20% more money. The ones that are willing to talk make 20% more money. I could be very shy and not have reached out to you to accept my request to be on your show. But I wouldn't have had the honor and the privilege to meet you, and then I'm going to be able to reciprocate and have you on my show. That comes from an extroverted action. Introverts make less money, fullstop.com. So you have to get outside of your comfort zone, push yourself, and do it.
Just do it, people. Just do it. Book yourself and talk and talk and talk. How did you personally shift your mindset from author to author entrepreneur, recognizing that marketing is ongoing responsibility, not a one-time task?
Well, it's essentially what we've been talking about a little bit. It's got to put the effort in. Practice is more important than just the show. You've got to practice. You think Mike Tyson put in practice sessions? Do you think he had a training camp before he entered the ring? Do you think Michael Jordan, another sports star, arguably the GOAT of basketball, put in practice sessions? As did, famous actors. You've got to put in the time. And for us as authors, it's not practicing any athletic move. Our athletic move, our practice session is the marketing. How are we strategically going to position ourselves such that potential readers and buyers see us? How do we get into public libraries? How do we get into corporate sales? How do we get our audiobooks done? How do we? It's a lot of how questions. Figure it out. There's ChatGPT, which can help you today. There's Google that can help you. There are no excuses for not being successful when you put in the work.
Yes, people, search for the right thing to do. How does the concept of building a loyal audience over the time differ from just selling a book? And why is it former essential for long-term author success?
Well, I'm going to look at Mel Robbins. She is a famous podcaster. She's a famous
Yes.
New York Times best-selling author and a former, I believe, newscaster. I think she was in media, one of the big media. I don't know which one. But if you look at her author page, you look at what she does, she's fantastic. You also look at another author named James Clear, who sold over 20 million copies of his book, Atomic Habits, which is what I have right here. And I have it here because I look at it as inspiration to get there. He's ticked all the boxes correctly in the marketing of his book on Amazon. If you look at it, you look at Mel Robbins, they do more similar, have more similar strategies than dissimilar. They both have podcasts. They're both out there continually marketing. Joe Rogan has a 4-hour podcast. I mean, he's
4
the
hours.
big dog in our, he's the big gorilla, I should say, in the zoo of podcasters.
Yes.
And he's pushing. I'm not aware if Joe has any books or not, but I know that James Clear is prolific and he's created all sorts of programs out of his Atomic Habits, which was his first book. And then Mel Robbins has written books, and she's an excellent host herself. And I think occasionally guests on podcasts, but they're continually sharpening their axe, continually at it. They don't take their foot off the gas pedal. Push, and you will reap the rewards. And that's a universal truth about life. Who puts in the extra effort to get the A plus? I mean, Daniel, think of yourself. You podcast daily, don't you?
Yes.
What
Indeed.
happened? What would happen to the Daniel Lucas brand if you decided to podcast once a month? Exactly. It's laughable.
Yes, for sure. And Mr. Mitch, before we go on to continue our discussion, as a mentored CEOs, speakers, authors, and consultants, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
To help as many people as I can as I ease into semi-retirement, and to be much more selective with whom I choose to work with. And that's one of the beauties of becoming a bona fide senior citizen. I get to choose. I don't.
Bonafide.
Yeah.
Awesome. I like the way you said bonafide. And go ahead, mister. What else are your long-term goals?
Well, yeah, the goal is to continue to do this, and the other is the reason I live in Thailand now is my next chapter is I'm looking for land presently to secure a location for my orphanage that I want to open for lost Thai children. And that's my
Awesome.
long-term goal, is my next segue. I never had kids myself, so this is my way of leaving some type of a legacy and mark on my life. I mean, the beauty of being an author, and I'm sure the authors that are listening to this will realize, you have a legacy. It's in print, it's proven. And I want to
Yes.
do something greater. Not that an author isn't enough, because it is for most people, and that's more than what most people do out there in the world. You've already, check yourself, admire yourself, acknowledge yourself for becoming an author, because it is a major feat. But doing this extra orphanage is something key, because I lived for a while in the Philippines and I saw a lot of poverty there. I've lived in Thailand. I just happen to prefer living in Thailand more than the Philippines because of the food. And then but the same issues are there, social issues. So I want to be able to help before I expire.
We salute you for that, Mitch. And you know what? My book 101 review have a foundation who's helping less fortunate children.
Oh, how
I
about that? Oh, nice.
Yes, I did this one, I think 2 years ago. So I'm soliciting authors that been guests on book 101 review if they can just share a little bit for our book 101 review foundation in support for the less fortunate children
Where
all
are
over
these
the
kids?
world. Either in the Philippines, I'm helping one of these charity in the Philippines, as well
Mm.
in Nigeria.
Oh, okay,
So
nice.
yes,
No, I know you're Filipino by heritage. So I spent some time in Davao City, and I lived a year in Manila. So I'm I have a lot of the Philippines in my heart.
Yes, Mr. Miss. Looking forward for more success to your
Thank you,
short-term
sir.
and long-term goals. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be a CEO, speakers, authors, or consultant, or as
I,
well as
I
coaches?
yeah, well, it's the same answer for all. Whatever your dream is, you can make it actionable to turn it into a reality. It starts with a dream, then it goes from there to, I would say, to a belief that it's possible. So dream, belief, then strategy, then execution, then lather, rinse, and repeat for more, then set new goals. That's off the top. So some people dream about becoming the US president or the president of the Philippines or the president of Canada or prime minister of Canada. Whatever that goal is, that might be a dream. It's never been one of mine. But to be where I am today was first a dream, then it became a belief that it was possible. Then there was a strategy because I sought out direction from coaches and consultants and or people that had already attained that dream that I once had and then belief that I had and followed their success trail because success leaves clues. There is a paint by numbers system to get there. And it's all different. When I decided to become an author, I followed the path of previous authors. No AI existed before. And for the people who are authors who are aspiring to become an author and write a book, get it up. There's no excuse today. AI can assist you. It's a tool. I don't recommend it to write your whole book, but I think it can help you ideate your concepts and create a clearer, faster roadmap to get there. So your dream can become a belief, can be strategized through AI, attainable, and then you can do more.
You can do more, people. And Mr. Mitch, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course, my book 101 review in fifth season, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in your fifth season too, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in each first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Mitch, what is your mantra for authors to internalize about the non-negotiable nature of ongoing marketing for lasting success?
Man, that's a question I've never been asked before. The mantra is believe in yourself, act on your instincts, and lather up in the bath of success.
In the bath of success. I like that, Mr. Mitch. Amazing! Mr. Mitch Carson, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy as well as your business itself?
Sure, if they want to book a call to get media to grow their book and exposure, they can go to getinterviewedguaranteed.com/meet with Mitch.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Mitch Carson, because if you support him, more and more and more empowering authors to come. So, Mr. Mitch, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. It's been great.
Bodycam people, see you soon.